This is Jerry McGill. I'm the author of the memoir, Dear Marcus, A Letter to the Man Who Shot Me. On January 1st, in 1982, I was a 13-year-old junior high school teenager walking home from a sleepover at my friend's house. He lived in Greenwich Village of Manhattan, and I lived on the Lower East Side. And me and my best buddy were walking home. We lived in a pretty dangerous neighborhood in Manhattan where crack was just really starting to take off and be a very popular item in our neighborhood, and violence was kind of on the rise in the city at the time. As soon as we got to my friend's apartment, which was about 2 blocks away from my apartment, we stopped off to say our goodbyes in front of his projects, and a loud shot rang out, and I fell to the floor and realized quickly that I had been shot. And from that moment on, I was going to always be a quadriplegic, paralyzed from the waist down. After that night, I went to the hospital where, to my surprise, I would spend the next 6 months in recovery. I didn't expect it to be nearly that long. In fact, when I first went to the hospital, I didn't even think that I was paralyzed. I didn't believe that I was going to spend the rest of my life in a wheelchair. I really thought for the first month or so that, yeah, I was shot, but these doctors are going to heal me up and I will walk out of here and lead the normal life that I was used to leading. It was kind of a surprise to me when I really had to hear that I was never going to walk again and settle into this new life. I had therapists who were very wonderful and basically taught me how to live my life again as a person in a wheelchair. And it was not easy always, but I was very fortunate. I had wonderful staff around me in the hospital. I had a supportive mother and wonderful friends who never really let me get too down on myself and always believed that I would have a rich life. I think it's very easy to fall into a depression when you are in the kind of situation where you once lived your life a certain way and now you have to live your life another way that would appear that you aren't going to be able to live it as freely, or you're not going to have as rich a life. And I can see where one would easily get into a depressed state or just despair. And I would say, though, that again, was fortunate. I had a great group of people around me who never let me really get too depressed, or who never let me stop believing that if I applied myself, I was going to lead a rich life. I had wonderful examples also. As a youngster, shortly after my shooting, I joined a theater group for people with disabilities. Mostly they were people in wheelchairs, some were blind, some were deaf, but I was able to have these wonderful role models around me, people who were leading rich lives as people with disabilities. And I was able to see, hey, that guy drives and he's in a wheelchair. That woman, she is a tennis player and she's in a wheelchair. That woman has a family and she's in a wheelchair. So I would say it's very important to have role models or to have mentors. And it's why I've always tried to kind of fill that role myself for other young people with disabilities. I want to let them see that, hey, just because this has happened to you, your life is not over. You don't have to let go of your dreams. Like any traumatic event, you have to give yourself time to grow. You have to give yourself time to adjust. People look at me. I still get people in the street who say, "Wow, you're so happy. You are really someone I look up to," and they want to know how I did it. And I tell them, I say, "Hey, it takes time. This didn't happen to this attitude that I have didn't happen overnight. I went through months and years of going in and out of sad states, in and out of doubt, wondering if I really was going to be able to accomplish something, wondering if I was always going to be looked at as someone of pity, wondering if I was always going to, if I was ever going to be able to get a job in a wheelchair, wondering if I was ever going to be able to find love in a wheelchair." I went through ups and downs. It took a long time. And even to this day, it's 30 odd years later, and I still sometimes, wake up and think, oh man, I can't get into this building. I get pissed off. There are times when I still doubt. So I think it's a process. People should remember that whenever you deal with a traumatic event, it's going to take time. My feeling is you have to continue to believe in yourself, and you have to continually remind yourself that a lot of this is a choice. It's a choice that you make. You can either choose to live a life where you see yourself as less than others, or you can choose to say, hey, I'm going to move forward with the best of my abilities, and I believe that I can contribute. And what I wanted people to know from my experience, people who read my book, I want them to know that somewhere out there, we're all going to face a difficult challenge in our lives at some point. You know, mine was a shooting. Someone else's may be cancer. Someone else's may be AIDS. Someone else's may be a divorce. Someone else's may be a tumor. Someone may lose a child. We're all going to face a challenge, and it's really how you choose to deal with it and how you choose to surround yourself, the people you choose to surround yourself with, and the attitude that you choose to adopt in dealing with that trauma. That's going to make all the difference.